The Mummy's Tomb. Giant piece of shit. The Mummy's Tomb is the movie that has everything. Everything that a cheapo, lazy B-movie can offer. Flashbacks to the first movie to fill 10 minutes of screen time with an overall copy-pasted script from the last movie. Characters that were dead in the first movie magically brought back to life by a single line of dialogic justification. Reused shots from better movies in this series to save up enough money to hire a really hot 1940s pinup babe with massive perky pyramids. And yes, of course, what would a terrible B-movie be without a title that nobody thought out? The Mummy's Hand made no sense for the last one, and The Mummy's Tomb makes no sense for this one. In fact, these two movies should swap titles, but whatever, who cares? Nobody at Universal seems to care about these mummy movies. They always get the ass end of the Sphinx. They aren't just bad, they're lazy. They're the laziest movies in this series all the way through to the ending, which just does the Frankenstein thing again, where another run-of-the-mill torch mob tracks the mummy and burns down the building he takes refuge in, and then he dies.
Yeah. Such a good movie.
On the Tana Leaves ranking, this is 0 Tana Leaves.
No Tana Leaves.
No
Tana Leaves.
No Tana Leaves.
No Tana Leaves. As Chucky rants in our opening, The Mummy's Tomb is a follow-up to the last film with some of the same characters like Dick Verrain playing Steve Banning, Babe Hansen played by Wallace Ford, and somehow, back from the dead, the High Priest Andoheb played by George Zuko.
The bullet he fired into me only crushed my arm.
I guess throwing bullets with your gun doesn't actually work. However, this time they're all very, very old, even though this film is only was made 2 years after. Of course, the plot is like, oh, this is many years later. So there's that. The last Mummy film, we talked extensively about how shameless they reuse footage and cutting corners. Well, Chucky, this film says, hold my beer, because not only does this movie pull music from The Wolfman, The Invisible Woman, but it also takes shots, actual footage from Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, and The Ghost of Frankenstein, while also doing a 10-minute recap of The Mummy's Hand, where in essence makes the film in actuality only 50 minutes instead of 1 hour. Lon Chaney Jr. returns, this time playing the Mummy, and now he's played the Wolfman and he's played Frankenstein's monster. And then returning actors, of course, we have Mary Gordon, who was in Invisible Man Returns and Invisible Woman, and Harry Cording, who was in Son of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man Returns, The Wolfman, and The Ghost of Frankenstein. Do I have a lot of trivia to say about this movie? Not really.
You said this movie says hold my beer. Obviously you meant this movie says hold my Tana fluid. And then I'm going to do some
No, Tana fluid. Hey, you're right. It should have said hold my Tana fluid, but who cares? You and I are like on the same page. This is the worst movie we've watched.
Dude, I can't remember how much we've talked about the Brendan Fraser mummy. I know we've brought it up. I don't want to go into it, but I just want to say it's shocking to me to go into this series for the first time, and that's one of my most adored, in my formative years, I watched the ish out of that movie, and to go into these and be like, this is what it, like, back in the day, Universal seemed to hate these movies. Like, let's see the predecessor, to that awesome movie. Yeah. One of the best big summer blockbusters ever made. This huge adventure movie, a DVD that you just spun endlessly. And then let's see where it came from. And it's just been a disappointment every time, other than the charm of The Mummy's Hand. But then this tries to do The Mummy's Hand again and fails horribly.
The Mummy's Hand was fun.
Where do we get on the expedition, boy? Well, we have fun with these things.
And that's the sad part, is like that first 10 minutes of this movie it's like the best part of the movie as a whole is like the first 10 minutes, because you're remembering all the fun scenes and you're just like laughing your ass off when the mummy actually gets on all fours to start sucking up Tana fluid.
Yeah, the highlight reel of the funniest stuff, like the 9 Tana leaves is in there.
Like,
and then
the fact that, and then we even see him like dropping all the great stuff that we liked about the first movie. It's all there in the beginning of the movie. It's just very poorly executed.
We learned afterward that Karas is being kept alive by a strange race of high priests. Only one of these high priests remained, a man by the name of Andoheb. He and a servant kept constant watch on our movements from up above in the mountains.
As a scientist, you're very unobserving, Dr. Petrie.
Why, it's a pulse beat. Why, this is absurd. It's fantastic.
In this vial, I have the fluid from 9 tanner leaves. 9 tanner leaves, Dr. Petrie. That wouldn't mean anything to you, but what? Now, Dr. Petrie.
Why, it's beating faster. He's alive.
And it's not even executed in a classy way, because I will have to stress, like, yes, there's 10 minutes of this movie that is a recap. That I don't think doing a recap is a bad thing, especially in this time period, because we didn't have TV, so it wasn't like the last time on Star Trek. We didn't have that back then. So what did you have to do? Okay, let's put a recap in the beginning so people kind of remember. Well, there's a classy way of doing it. What was the classy way to do it in Bride of Frankenstein? Oh, let's like bring Mary Shelley into the fold.
Don't, Lord Byron. Don't remind me of it tonight.
What a setting in that churchyard to begin with. The sobbing women. The first clod of earth on the coffin. That was a pretty chill. Frankenstein and the dwarf stealing the body out of its new-made grave.
Let's actually like kind of bring you into the world of being like, oh yeah, this was written by a book. And so we're kind of like linking the classiness of the book towards that. And then but we're also going to recap it in a fun way. This is like, no, Steve Banning's old and he's just retelling.
How do we catch up the audience? Let's try to be creative about it. Because we know it's just like, we kind of have to do a bit of a recap because we're just jumping into this dead guy walking around. Okay, what do we do? And I mean that for Frankenstein and for this. So what do we do? And they were a little creative there, whereas here, it goes on for so long, it becomes so unnecessary that you quickly realize this isn't a recap. This is just filler. That's all this is serving because the rules haven't changed, right? It's still the ridiculousness of 3 Tana leaves to keep him alive, 9 Tana leaves to give him motivation, which is still stupid. It's the dumbest thing.
And it has to be during the moon?
Once each night, during the cycle of the full moon, you will dissolve 3 Tana leaves and give the liquid to Karis. 3 leaves will keep him alive. 9 leaves will give him motivation.
And it has to be during the full
the moon's
moon.
Involved in this. Yes.
Yeah, and they said I don't know if they said
the jackasses aren't in the film.
What's that?
Jackass.
It is the full moon because you have dogs baying to it and all that. So it's it's all these dumb, arbitrary conditions that are supposed to. Ooh, it's so magical and blah blah blah, but really it's just arbitrary and dumb. It's still dumb that they are keeping this mummy alive over thousands of years just to be a bumbling assassin, right? Like, okay, you know how they, in the mummy's hand, they were doing that thing with the eyes, like that creepy black thing with the eyes? Let me give you an example of something that would have been using the mummy for something unique rather than just he walks up and strangles you, which any human could do. And I know like he's impervious to bullets or whatever, but who cares? Who cares? A human being could be doing these assassinations better than a stupid bumbling mummy. Imagine if when he looked you in the eyes, you like froze and he sapped your soul. He sapped your soul for Amun-Ra or some other Egyptian god, like something actually horrific. Sounds dumb. That's dumb. But that is more specific to this like magical quality here. Instead, it's just like, no, he just strangles you to death. It's like this amazing magical mummy just does
I will say,
that.
I'm not trying to defend this movie. This movie's dumb.
You just love mummies.
You just love mummies. No, I will say, what I'm saying is, I think you just love the 1999 Brendan Fraser movie that's far superior to this movie.
I absolutely do.
And that's where I go. That's where I go. That's where and you do. And I do too. But like, where I'm going is like, yeah, I know, and I said this the last time, but a lot of what they're trying to pull from is the old story of the Golem that is like, oh yeah, he's just a big hulking monster who goes around and kills people.
But why keep this guy alive? It ends up being stupid because it's like, why keep this guy alive for thousands of years?
Yeah, that stuff's dumb.
to be
that
a
stuff
really
is dumb.
like he's effective
It's
so
poorly
far as he
written.
has a body count.
Yeah.
You have to carry his corpse. You have to ship his corpse in a box. And then you have to feed him these tana leaves just so he could go strangle some people. If he did something magical, that would be cool and it would be ridiculous and it would be fun. But instead, it's just like, oh, you just strangled somebody. Speaking of shipping, you look like you just got back from Egypt.
I did.
You look burnt to a crisp.
I had a lot of it was a good time. We had tana leaves, and I don't want to remember. I didn't
Don't do
remember
tana
any of it,
leaves.
so
Dude, don't ever
do tana leaves. Especially once you hit that once you hit that 10th tana leaf, it's over, dude. Black out.
Let me give you another thing where it's like this movie's just repeating what we got before, but it's not thinking as it's doing it. So you have at the end of the last movie, you randomly have the high priest, the Andy guy, Adenoheb or whatever, he's saying to the babe, you're going to be my priestess and I'm going to make you immortal. I'm going to give you the tana leaves and you're going to be immortal and we're going to be together forever.
Like Clarice, you will live forever. What I can do for you, I can also do for myself. Neither time nor death can touch us. You and I, together for eternity, here in the temple of Karnak, you shall be my high priestess.
So not only is that blatantly copy-pasted.
You're mad.
After I have given you the Tana fluid, you will be immortal, even as Charis is immortal. What I can do for you, I can do for myself. You will bear me a son, and he will be brought up in the confines of the tombs of Egypt, even as I was brought up, the new priest of Karnak, who will carry on the ancient and honorable line.
So it's lazy, but it also failed to do something really cool within the mythos, the pre-established mythos. So the first thing you see in this movie is old Banning, and eventually you see old Babe. But then you have a priest who has the ability to prolong his life. So wouldn't it have been cool if he would have not been replaced by another priest, but we're cutting from old guy to wow, the priest is still young? Wow, this immortality thing is real. And then just have him do what he did before, but he comes to America. And then imagine old Babe shooting young priest Andy again. Throwing bullets again.
Throwing bullets again, baby.
That
would have been a better movie.
If you would be thinking. If you're thinking these things are obvious, but Universal doesn't care about mummy movies.
Yeah, this
they
is...
They just hate mummies! Until 1999 or 8 or whatever.
Bringing that point up, will say there's one thing this movie does better than A Mummy's Hand, and it's the one part of the movie where I was like, okay, that was actually good job, movie.
And what's that?
Good job, movie. So we get our
so
new...
cute. You tried.
You're so adorable.
You tried. But
so we get our new high priest in this film. And, of course, he's like trying to get the revenge of the last movie. Because, we jokingly talked about the last movie. He's like, well, yeah, these guys are jerks because they're like coming into somebody else's country and like taking stuff and all this and everything.
They're hardly good guys.
They're hardly good guys, but we're just like we love these guys.
At least I had the satisfaction of having destroyed a terrible monster. And in doing so, rid the world of an awful curse.
So that's how he remembers it, right? But in reality, they stole a bunch of jewels and riches from an ancient Egyptian burial ground, killed a bunch of people that were trying to stop them, and ran off back to the States.
Brought back the body of the Princess Anarka, too. But I've always regretted I wasn't able to bring back the mummy with her.
But suddenly he's a hero for getting rid of a horrible curse. But remember, there was no curse, just the mummy of a prince protecting the tomb of a princess from thieves. It's fucking hysterical.
We love these guys.
Yeah.
So, but this movie, the correction it makes is like in that last movie, the George Zuko character doesn't have any very minimal motivation for him to want to steal the leading lady of that film.
Other than we need a climax.
Like, oh yeah. It's just like, oh, we need something here. Oh,
yeah.
All of a sudden he decides he's horny for the girl, and now he wants to be this. This movie at least sets that up really early on.
It was roughly set up in their like magician's hotel room or whatever, where he
meets her and she's kind of creeped out.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. This movie, however, gives a little bit more credence and a little more time on that. that issue where we actually see him kind of like struggling with the lust that he's having for this girl, and then eventually even seeing her again and seeing, oh, she's gonna get married, I better do something about it. And then we actually get kind of a cool sequence, the only cool sequence in this movie, where he's thinking about her, and then we see all these like cool essentially printed over shots of her. Yeah, and it's just like, okay, like I get this character now. He's obsessed with her, he wants her, and then of course he's like tells the mummy there's like a back and forth.
He's praying to Amun-Ra that he won't be horny for her, but he's like, I can't help it.
I can't, I can't help it. And then he's like, okay, the mummy.
I'm sending you upon a different mission. I am going to take on to myself a wife, Caris. A wife. Do you understand that?
I need you to go take her. I don't need you to kill somebody.
They're so perky.
It's the only good part of the movie where I was like, okay, you did something right this time. Yeah. But the biggest problem is like you keep saying like, yeah, they repeat the last movie. I don't even think it's that. I think this movie is just repetitive in the sequence. It's literally the mummy comes in, he kills Steve Bannon, which is a slap in the face to the first film to begin with. Because it's like, we have 2 actors from the last movie that survived from the last film because we couldn't get the girl for reasons. I didn't go into looking it up. I didn't want to even bother why. You didn't have the old magician because it's like, well, he's probably dead, which makes sense. So at this point, it's like, okay, you got the 2 old guys. Well, they barely resemble the characters. I mean, it's the same actors. They barely resemble the characters. This movie just does the, as we like to call in the Bond world, it does the throwing Mathis in the fucking dumpster in this movie. Just like, let's dump those characters.
Let's take a beloved character and throw him in the garbage after having him basically have done nothing. Like, he comes back into the sequel to really do nothing of any import, and then they're just cast aside. It's like, that was the best part of the other movie.
Basically, the movie does the same thing. When you watch it, it does read like he was going to give like the background, like the backstory of what happened in the last movie.
30 years ago, your father and I met up with this curse in Ananka's tomb. It wasn't imagination either. We saw that curse bring on death. We thought we destroyed the mummy in the fire. Maybe it escaped, or maybe there was another one.
But then it's like, no, they decide, oh no, how about we have the other actor do it, and he does in the beginning of the movie instead of like putting it later.
So yeah, just like Mathis, he's completely wasted. He just gives us information that was already relayed at the beginning of the movie, and then he's just killed off.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like, why would you do it that way? That's just dumb. Yeah, that sucks. What else sucks about this movie?
So, it's an amazing thing when something as simple as a title isn't thought out. Like we said before, why the mummy's hand? Meanwhile, the story takes place largely around the mummy's tomb. And yet this movie's called The Mummy's Tomb, and then they have a line in this movie that says,
"Must have been a powerful hand that strangled him."
What did you say?
And it's like, okay, so you just emphasized hand. But tomb was in the last movie, and hand in this one. It's like literally everything is wrong. Like, had they said something in the first movie about how whichever priest is taking care of Karis's Tana fluid addiction is designated as the mummy's hand, as in hand servant, that would have made sense. Karis is a prince after all, and a prince would have hand servants, even if his mummified situation is a punishment for having stolen Tana leaves. He breaks the law by stealing the leaves to bring the recently deceased Princess Ananka back to life, but he is royalty, so rather than just killing him, his punishment is to live forever guarding her tomb.
Karis still lives for the moment he will carry death and destruction to all those who dared violate the tomb of Ananka.
And it becomes the priest's duty to incessantly feed him the fluid so that he's always ready to defend the princess from invaders, cursed with immortality in doing so. In the mummy's hand, the priests just randomly decide for themselves they're gonna dig up Karis and make him a killer. But I'm talking about a royal decree poetically punishing him for stealing the Tana leaves by forcing his use of them in order to be this eternal guardian. Like catching a kid smoking a cigarette and making him finish the whole pack. That would really nail that theme of those who try to artificially extend life turn into monsters that we've seen in some of these other films. And in this situation, the priests would in fact be hand servants that serve Karis. And so it would be Karis that is in charge. But that's not how it's been with these movies. The priests dominate and control him.
You will do exactly as I say, Karis. I am your master. Only I can tell you where you will find the fluid that gives you life.
Always telling him what to do in exchange for the fluid. They are certainly not subservient to him.
That is my will, Caris, and you shall obey it.
Now, is this movie called The Mummy's Tomb because these knuckleheads hide in a cemetery? Maybe, but I think that'd be giving the movie way too much credit. I just don't think anybody cared. So again, the last movie should have been called The Mummy's Tomb, and this movie could have been called The Mummy's Hand, as once again, we see the designation passed to a new hand that helps Caris get to America so he can get his revenge. You know, kind of like that Renfield guy helping out his master.
Master, the sun is gone.
But instead of being in charge like Boris Karloff's Imhotep, this mummy is just a bumbling fool being run by horny idiots. That's what I mean. If you can't even think through your titles, you're not giving a damn throughout your entire script. And it just shows. Like, cut to all these newsmen coming from all over the country to solve these murders or to report on these murders.
You mean to say you think a mummy's been doing all these murders around here?
I know it was a mummy.
What significance, other than filler, the answer is always going to be filler, what significance was there to these newsmen coming to town? Were they the mob? Were the newsmen the guys that were the mob at the end? I don't think so. Yeah. They were townspeople. So why emphasize this or that or that? It's always filler. This movie is always filler. And then, just in whatever scene is going on, something happens and then nobody cares. Like the son of Steve Banning in every scene he's in is just like joyful and pleasant. And meanwhile, like everybody in his life is dying and he's just like,
It's just like, yeah, it's okay.
Okay, yeah,
well,
whatever.
Like it's worse when it's like, okay, Steve, yeah, his dad dies, but there's barely any remorse. There's like in a better movie, they would have been like, okay, we're going to have the funeral. Or like even like a movie like Salem's Lot, like a book like Salem's Lot, right? There are all these deaths that happen and they're sad deaths that happen throughout the film or the book.
And they have an effect.
They have an effect, and they actually have a funeral that they have to go to, and then another funeral on top of that funeral, and then it's like, now it's like weighing down on these characters. So here it's just like, oh yeah, he died. And then the next day, someone else dies, and you're like, okay, like whatever. Like they don't even give the aunt a second to be like you never see him go, oh man, my aunt died.
Oh, babe, it's ridiculous. Even supposing you were right, what would it be doing around here? Where would it hide?
If those high priests could keep a man alive for 3,000 years, they certainly could figure out the rest, too.
Oh, babe, listen. The only clue we have are the dust marks on Dad's throat. And now on the throats of Aunt Jane and Jim.
You know, he just doesn't care. He's like,
I hate my care. His whole life is collapsing, but he's like, whatever, I got a promotion.
Babe.
Yeah, I got a hot babe. So
I got that
going for me.
I don't care about anything else.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, while everybody's dying, all these random people around town aren't reporting that they saw some shady character. They're reporting specifically, we saw a shadow.
A shadow? You wake me up for that? Go on back to bed. You must be crazy.
We were laying in bed and there was a shadow. And then this other couple, we saw a shadow. You'd think one of them would be like, I think it was maybe he was like a homeless man, but it was creepy. He was covered in rags and it seemed unnatural. I'd never seen anything like that. Instead, no, there was a shadow.
That's right. Then all of a sudden a shadow passed over us.
What sort of a shadow?
Well, I don't know. Just a shadow.
Didn't you see what made it?
No, sir. We didn't look up right at once, and when we did look, it was gone.
You saw a shadow? We saw a shadow, too.
You called me about seeing the same sort of shadow.
I seen it. It passed right over my bed. I seen somebody pass by the window, too.
What did he look like?
I don't know.
They call the sheriff in the middle of the night, and he's like, really? You're going to wake me up about a shadow? And I'm going, yeah, why does anybody care? You know, what are you talking about? They bring everybody in as witnesses. You know, it's like, were they dark shadows? It's just,
they're evil shadows.
Evil shadows.
Were they evil shadows? You know, no, sir. These weren't just dark shadows, sir. These were evil shadows. What are you talking about? Everybody's talking about these shadows like they're not attached to something physical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's out again. I just saw that shadow. I saw it with my own eyes.
You saw a shadow. What else did you see?
I didn't wait for anything more.
People don't talk like that. People don't go to the cops and say, I saw a shadow.
I saw a shadow.
And maybe if one stupid person does, it's not like you're going to have a line of people being like, we saw the shadow too. The shadow. What are you talking about? Filler. This movie is just
it would have been like, instead of saying that, it would have just been like, no, I did see something last night. That was weird. I thought I saw a man walking kind of weirdly, very strangely. I would have said something along those lines, not I saw a shadow.
If it was Dracula, where even in like Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, they're playing with how his shadow is almost like Peter Pan, right?
To share its life, its changes, its death.
There. You, Count, are...
It's separate from him. Oh, is that Dracula on your mug there? Buy a mug. Shameless plug mug, mug plug. Shameless mug plug, butt plug.
You can put Tana leaves in it.
Yeah, dude. I'm so tired. I need Tana fluid.
Yeah, we need some Tana fluid in this.
Anyway, so what was I saying? So Dracula's shadow, Peter Pan's shadow, they're separate from their physical body, and there's like fun to be had there. They act like that's what's going on here. Oh, you saw the shadow too? If you see the shadow, just go outside, and the lumbering mummy who moves at like half a mile, every 10 hours is just standing there. But they're acting like it's Dracula. Like imagine in a Dracula movie, you would just see a shadow with no body, and then you'd be explaining that to the cops, being like, no, it was just a shadow with nothing there. And that's kind of creepy and scary and hard to explain. It's attached to a physical fucking being that moves really slow. It's
dumb.
Lazy filler. And then speaking of lazy filler, they take all of Babe's lines, everything about Egypt that he should have been filling the cops in on, and they give it to another scientist who just knows too much. Like it was one thing when it was Van Helsing, who is a professional.
The scroll from which this was copied was stolen 10 years ago, together with the mummy of the high priest Imhotep.
Most interesting.
It would make sense they give it to a scientist. He analyzes it. He's like, yeah, this is weird.
This powder, which you say was scraped from the gray marks on the victims' throats, is mold.
Mold?
Yes, mold. Developed through so many centuries that it's almost impossible to calculate.
But then he goes a step further and is like, it's from a mummy.
That mold and this strip of linen both came from the body of a mummy. That inky hieroglyphic there is the same that's found on the body of the Princess Ananka. It dates back about 3,000 years to the reign of King Amenephis, her father.
I know everything there is to know about Egyptology.
Yeah, what in CSI did this just happen? It was just and then he took off his glasses or put them on and said, yeah, or whatever it was.
Whether you are ready to accept it or not, we are dealing with the presence of the living dead.
Van Helsing, he's like, I'm an expert on all things vampires. And you're like, he kind of is. I believe this guy. This guy's just like, I'm just scientist guy coming out of nowhere.
What is it?
I'm not sure. But I think I know someone who can tell me. Darling, will you drive me to the university? I want to see Professor Norman.
Of course.
I'll call him and tell him we're coming.
Basically, we're 2/3 of the way through the movie when all of a sudden young Banning says, hey, let's go talk to a professor we've never mentioned before. And yet he just knows everything there is to know about this princess.
Doesn't make any... You're just like, what is going on
here?
Okay, so then the other thing that I have to mention about this movie is that because the last film we talked about, again, these movies are in correlation with World War II is going on. It is happening as these movies are coming out. And a year prior, which we talked about, the last movie was An Invisible Agent. Universal's propaganda movie. But of course, in this movie, we have to be reminded of it. And it almost feels like there was a note given down by Universal higher-ups that were like, the U.S. wants to we need to make a plug for the war efforts. We got to put a plug in the movie. And he's like, well, why? It's like, it's got to be in the movie. It's part of the War Department's stipulation.
Pissed.
They need it in the movie. So to get to our third act, out of nowhere, for no reason whatsoever.
Can you make the mummy Japanese? No, he's already Egyptian.
Make him a Nazi. Make him a Nazi.
African.
We had Nazis in the last movie. Can we make him a Nazi? Let's make him Italian.
Crap, we invaded Africa to save it from the Italians. Oh, God, it's too late to change the... can we...
We could have fixed that.
Symbol that priest has. Can we just make that a big old swastika? No.
Yeah, we can't do that. So the only thing they do in this film is it just so happens that Banning's son is a doctor, and then of course he gets drafted by the army to be a medical doctor. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go with you and we're going to get married and it's going to be great. And you're like, okay, like, all right, we just need this little piece of information thrown into the movie just to get us to the third act for no reason. Yeah, this movie's dumb. This movie's just dumb. Like one thing after the other. I don't have... We could keep going on about how dumb this movie is, but I think you and I honestly believe it is like, it's in contention with the bottom. Like it's this or Ghost of Frankenstein. And I'm leaning towards this is the worst movie more than Ghost of Frankenstein.
Allow me to retort, McCurdy.
You have to retort.
The last Mummy movie, The Mummy's Hand. We said this is more of a mummy movie than The Mummy, which starts strong. And Boris Karloff is awesome. Without Boris Karloff, that movie really has nothing. Okay? It starts strong and then becomes a weird star-crossed lover's tale with weird motivations and plot things like, I need to kill you to resurrect you because you're my reincarnated lover, so I have to burn your old body and then make you immortal. You know,
wrap it up in the end of the movie. Let's wrap this all up.
Yes, lots of tell, don't show with curses and reincarnation and spells and Isis and gods and a bunch of woo-woo gobbledygook that appears smarter than it is. And to that end, the way it's put together, The Mummy probably outclasses The Mummy's Hand. But it's a hard watch because, again, it's dry. It's dry, McCurdy. It's as dry as Prince Karis's 3,000-year-old dick cheese. There's dry and then there's fun, okay? The Mummy's Hand is fun. Not enough. The Mummy's Hand is fun, but it's also cheap. Okay, so let me start that again. There's dry and then there's fun. Okay, The Mummy's Hand is fun, but it's also cheap. But there's cheap and then there's lazy. And this movie is fucking lazy and cheap and dry and stupid and insulting and fucks with previous movies in a bad way. Classic sin of ours. And more than anything, it completely lacks the character of The Mummy's Hand, which made it fun.
Going back to what I was saying earlier, it's like when you think of The Mummy's Hand, Steve Banning and especially Babe more so, they have character. There's something fun and energetic about them. This movie, it's like, well, now they're playing old men. So it's like, let's play up the old men bit. With both actors, there's nothing in there that makes you remind you of like the characters that they were in the last movie. Yeah. Even so, Babe is just playing, like Wallace Ford is just basically playing the same character as Dick Foran is in the same movie. They're just old men. They're playing them as old men. We get no sense of who they were prior other than, we were old friends. That's it.
Yeah, like his fun is gone.
There's no poopsie. It's all like, it's all evaporated. It is all dry and sucked up.
We're old now, so we can't have fun. And you're, what? No, it's Babe. Like, give him that sense of humor. And I get his friend just died, but it's like, no. It's you could get away with a little levity with him, you know, but instead it's dry. And then there's Ghost of Frankenstein, which is also pretty lazy, but doesn't lack character. It's stupid, but at least it manages to be engaging, you know?
Yeah, I will give you that, because it's like the one thing about that movie that the biggest problem with it is just motivations change, and it's like very stitched together where it's like, well, we got to get to Frankenstein somehow. We have this great opening. Well, he just needs power.
Come, we're going to find Dr. Frankenstein.
We don't really explain it, but it's like your strength's gone, so he needs the power because Frankenstein. But then also we're getting to the brain stuff, which seems like its own thing. The brain stuff's like, oh, well, I want my brain in.
Your brain.
Frankenstein wants the child's brain in, and Frankenstein's monster. And then Frankenstein's like, I want my old smart buddy back in. And then Frankie, it's just a whole gobbledygook mess. However, at the end of the day, you still have Igor, who's like, I am Igor.
Igor!
You still have that. That's fun.
It commits the same exact series of sins that this movie does.
Yeah.
But this movie does have that trademarked mummy dryness where you're just like, this goes beyond... Like, even as much as Ghost of Frankenstein was just like, no, what are you doing? You're just, I can't put it any better way than take the previous 3 Frankenstein movies, put them in a blender, and then just lay them out in random order and just roll with it. But it still has those characters, even if their motivations are just set to random and you don't know what is going on at any time, you still have the characters within character. Here, the returning characters that we loved are wasted, and they're just, I'm just old, my characters, I'm old, and they're nothing. And then the new characters aren't characterized. They're
nothing about them. There's
unidimensional pieces.
It's literally passive. Just like, oh, I'm just the son who's a doctor and I have a hot babe. I'm the hot babe. I just make out with the doctor. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm the ant.
I'm the ant, and then I die. You know,
there's nothing else. I'm motherly. That's it. There's nothing. We don't really learn anything about her or anything specific. I would guarantee you that when they originally probably wrote the script, that the actress who played
Motto were alive today, she'd tell you the same thing.
I bet they were like thinking, oh, she would return and fill that ant role.
Personally, I think you're boring, Isabel and her mother. Who cares what happened 3,000 years ago?
Being my sister doesn't give you the right to be disrespectful.
But even then, the script is bad, where it's just like, it repeats itself. It's just the mummy goes out, he kills somebody, he comes back. The mummy goes out, he kills somebody, he comes back. The mummy goes out and kills somebody and comes. That's the movie. And then eventually we get to the mummy goes out, steals the leading lady. We get to the third act, bang, bang, flames, mob, end of film. And then you're like, this sucked. Like, this was not good.
Yeah.
Whereas the last movie, Ghost of Frankenstein, we at least have some weird brain going on where they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna switch this brain. Whose brain's gonna be? And then it's like, I am Igor. And you're like, oh no. And he's like blind and stupid. And that's sort of fun.
It's
like,
retreading
dumb.
old stuff just like this movie, but it's still engaging. It's still like
fun.
There's a reason why
dumb,
Frankenstein movies are at the top of our list and mummy movies keep moving to the bottom, because it's like for some reason, to go back to the beginning, what I've been saying, it took them decades and decades to figure out how to make a proper mummy movie, because they're still farting around with this stupid Tana leaves and really just not giving these movies the time of day. Nobody cares about writing it. Nobody cares about titling it. Nobody cares about really anything going on. They're they're like obnoxiously lazy.
This just for kids. Yeah, this movie's just for the kiddies. It's like, let's just make a matinee movie. Kids will eat it up because they like these horror films. This is the new thing that kids love, the horror movies. And like, let's just give them the mummy because it's probably the easiest for them to do the makeup probably. I don't know. They're just like, oh, you just wrap them up.
These sequels are for the kids. The original Mummy is definitely for the adults. I can't imagine kids watching the original Mummy. They would all fall asleep. I'm glad that we're starting to put some movies beneath it, because it's like, it deserves some merit.
I think it has a little bit more.
Dry that it's just like, I can't imagine giving it any more. Like, I'm glad there's some movies underneath it, and maybe there'll be more.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's such a hard watch, because that versus something like Dracula, which they're the same age, but Dracula is engaging because of even just down to like what Dracula represents and then what Van Helsing represents.
The visuals of that movie is better.
Yeah, like the two scenes where Van Helsing is confronting Dracula and it's riveting. When Edward Van Sloan's character is confronting the mummy, it's a snooze fest. There's no reason to be engaged, because it's like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to save this woman? The whole movie, she's like, I'm in love with you and we're star-crossed lovers. And then randomly at the end, she's like, wait, I don't want to die. You'd think she'd be under his spell, because she was under his spell the whole time. Like, if anything, she should have been going along with it under his spell. And the men should have been trying to save her. And then once they do save her in the end, then she kind of wakes up and is like, oh my God, thank you for saving me. But instead, she ends up fighting him in the end. And it's gobbledygook. It's a mess. The Mummy is way overrated. I'm glad it's at the bottom, but I'm glad it's not at the bottom. But then these two movies are just too lazy and cheapo, and nobody cared about it. And it's just like, I'm still hoping that one of these Mummy movies is gonna be just like a smidgen of Brendan Fraser's, of Stephen Sommers. But how do they keep f***ing these up?
I don't think so. I don't. Unfortunately, I think there's one movie that I think I have some hope that'll lean a little bit more into the
Abbott
fun.
and Costello, just
I'm hoping
making it goofy enough.
Abbott and Costello is going to be goofy enough. Well, I'm hoping, but I can't be sure. But at the same time, I'm like, I think the next two are also one of these, like, it's an hour-long movie, and you can just get them done, and you could watch both of them back to back and be like, yeah, that's it, kids, and you'd be like, all right.
Can you imagine if they just, like, one half of the runtime is just like, they take all the old Mummy movies and they just do it like a,
I hope the next movie is just, let's kill all the characters from this movie. And just like that, just every movie is just like a flash. Let's just do a whole flashback.
Yeah. And then there'll be another mob, get the townspeople together with the mob. And all right. So yeah, this movie. This movie's at the bottom. Activate the lightning. You, Mummy's Tomb, piece of shit. You suck.
But who do we toast to for a garbage movie? Because I actually do think we should toast to somebody.
Let's toast to the blonde bombshells pyramids.
No. No.
2 toasts.
Just her pyramids?
One for each.
I can't take you seriously.
They're so perky. They're like Tomb Raider style, you know.
I will
pun
say
intended.
that's something we did not talk about in this movie is really, like, I'm surprised they got past the censors. Even for how tame this movie is. I'm like, there's a lot of making out and really kind of risque behavior.
This is our first instance of 2 teenagers about to hook up in a car.
Well, you see, we were parked along the West County Pike.
What are we doing out on the road? They're like, we were
just like
listening to music in the car, and you know,
right?
Like, wow,
right. I'm just like, whoa,
yeah,
whoa. And I mean, it's like, yeah, it's 1940s. They're not going to show anything, but the implication of what they were going to do or are doing, and then it's just like the movie censoring it. It's like, whoa. And then even later, Banning's son and his and them are in the garden or whatever. They're like on the ground and they're
making out.
I'm like, this movie's kind of it's not risque, but for the 1940s, it feels risque. It's like,
But then at the same time, the man and wife that see the shadow from their bedroom are sleeping in separate beds. So there's that.
But I was actually going to suggest somebody completely different. Turhan Bey, which is not Kimram Bey from Russia with Love.
Karim Bey.
I thought it was.
Karen Bey?
For a second there.
Well, the character's
Karen
name
Bey.
is Karen Bey.
Karen Bey, yeah, it was a different actor. He was a Mexican actor.
Pedro Armendariz.
Yes. I thought that was who. For some reason, I thought that's who it was, but I think it's the Bey that like.
Yeah.
I think it should go to him.
Karim Bey.
As much as the rest of the movie is so dumb, he's the only actor who seems to actually care. He's like, I'm gonna do my best because this is an audition tape, basically, for me to do something.
Yeah.
Audition film. Tape wasn't a thing. This is an audition film for me for another movie down the line. That's what this reads because. Everybody else doesn't really have a character. They're not really, they're unmotivated. They're all dumb. Yeah, he's dumb too. Like he does some dumb actions with the gun and everything.
For those who defile the temples of ancient Egypt, a violent death shall be their fate.
But he's the only one who like seems to actually try. Like
it's
everybody
another
else
paycheck movie
just,
for everybody else, and then there's him who actually. You're right. He actually is.
He's like he gives
present.
something.
He's present and doing
he's
things.
He's giving himself a little bit, and I'm like, I just you're in the worst movie, dude. But seriously, like I'm sorry, like to his family, like sorry you were in this movie, but like I saw it. I saw what you were doing.
We correct that injustice tonight, McCurdy. By raising a universal mug to, what's his name? Finally,
like,
justice for...
We're going to do this. What's his name, sir?
Justice for whom?
Turhan Bey.
Turhan?
Turhan Bey. Turhan Bey. Turhan Bey.
Turhan. So he's the guy who went on to shoot RFK? Do you think he drank some Tana fluid and then he went on a murder spree?
But no Tana leaves.
No Tana leaves. No Tana leaves.
No Tana leaves.
Yes, I smuggle blood, electricity,
monocaine,
silver bullets, but no Tana leaves.
No Tana leaves. No Tana leaves.
I gotta update the T-shirt.
Oh my god! Once Halloween
no
comes
heroin,
out,
now it says no Tana leaves.
No Tana leaves. So people are like, "What?"
just the most cryptic fucking T-shirts possible.
If you find a Universal Monster fan, they'll see that and they'll be like,
"Dude, yeah,
but no one's gonna get it. No one's gonna get it.
Yeah,
except for you and me, because it's stupid inside joke that shouldn't be, but it is. So Turhan Bey, just real quick, he was Austrian-born actor of Turkish and Czech Jewish origin, active in Hollywood from 1941 to 1953. He was dubbed the Turkish Delight.
He is adorable. I will
say
by
his fans. By his fans,
he's
dubbed.
Adorable.
I like the guy.
Yeah,
I like the guy.
Together we three until the world crumbles and there is no longer a stone or a rock or a tree or a blade of grass. That is my will, Caris, and you shall obey it. Bring her here. Go. Go.
Well, we honor him for being in this horrendous piece of shit to Turhan. Turhan.
Turhan, the Turkish Delight.
The Turkish Delight. Thank you, sir, for sacrificing
Thank you.
for this bottom of the barrel embarrassment. You really elevated it,
There you
but
go.
not enough. But we correct the injustice that you were overlooked and you were only cast because you look good in a fez, but you're beautiful rocking that fucking fez, doling out Tana fluid to stupid ass Prince Karis. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Halloween, Turhan.
As Chucky rants in our opening. Oh, sorry. As Chucky rants in our Chucky rants, not Chucky. You're Chucky rants, but Chucky rants. See what I did there?
I don't know.
Like rants is not your name; it's a verb in this sentence. That's what's tripping me up.
Oh, okay. As Chucky rants.
As Chucky rants. There we go.
Take that, Bembridge scholars.